it's still 20 thousandths twisted that direction. And I can't move this by hand. It's locked in there pretty tight. So I'm going to try to get some leverage on it, see if I can rotate it. It's wanting to lift this side. It's obviously hitting this side. If I take some off of the top of this, maybe it'll let it rotate. I can move the bottom. It's not something internally down in here, because I can move the bottom over. But what it's doing when I move the bottom over, it's lifting this side. I'm going to try taking some off the top of this and letting this side go down. I can't build this thing with a twist in it. Alright, try to drop this side is all I know. It's got to go down a teeny bit. It's almost flush on the very top of this metal, is almost flush with the top of that wood, but it needs to be recessed a touch, maybe a touch and a half. Okay, see part of why it's not going down. There's a really nice black mark right there, which is where this safety has a spring on it, and there's a mark where the smoke was, and the smoke's been removed right there, and that means it's touched. So that little spring just got relieved. That's no longer an issue. And there's a little place on the very back end of this that's touching down in the bottom. You just keep relieving issues one after another. It really goes back to that question that was asked by the sculptor. I don't know, I seemed like I heard it was Michelangelo. How do you carve an elephant? You just take out everything that don't look like an elephant. So you take out every single issue, every single place that it touches until it gets to where you want it to be. And if it's really right, everything will touch all at once. If it's really right. And that's what you want. And that's what we do with glass bedding. Everything is touching the same pressure. Wherever there's a gap, we fill in, and wherever there's a high spot, we take away, and at the end of it, everything touches to the same amount of pressure. I've got a black mark here, but I want this thing to rotate this way, so I'm not going to relieve that. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to take off everything on this side that'll keep it from going that way. Just barely slipping it in there, sticking it in there. I'm going to see where that, it's still twisted. I'm going to try to untwist it before I put a lot of pressure on it, and then put pressure, and maybe it'll give me it'll sit there, it'll stay there. Alright, that just moved it about 15 thousandths, so I'm going in the right direction. And when I put downward pressure on it, it moved it back that other way, back the wrong way. Rotate with downward pressure and see if that makes a mark I can use. Well, that helped a little. I'm going to keep my pressure going counterclockwise as I'm looking at it, and I'm going to tap it and see if I can leave me a mark. Something I can use. Okay, I see marks on top. Okay, this is going to take a little while, so I'm gonna kill this camera. I see another mark inside here where the caulking lever is hitting. That may be my biggest culprit, is that caulking lever. It may be, because it's leaving a pretty solid mark right there. I'm going to kill this camera for a little bit and have a word with this. See that little black smudge right there? I've been waiting to see that. That little black smudge came from right there. See where that smoke is removed? And that is a straight down notch. See that little notch? That's a straight down cut, and that's very important that I recess straight down for that. That keeps this thing from shifting front to back. I've been waiting for that little notch to show up. That means I'm getting close. And I just now took this clamp pushing back off. My caulking levers are free and clear. I'm taking this one off, and I have dropped this thing enough to where the wood is actually proud of this metal across this top tang. So it's getting there. And how easily can it release? Oh, and I got the side to side correct. The last time I slipped this in there, I realized something. The safety, when I put it in, it has to be forward because there's something blocking it from going backwards. And so when I set it in with the safety off, in the off position, it's hitting something. Now what I can do is, I know the shape of this, basically, and I can measure either from this tip to the back of this safety, or better yet, from this little notch. That notch is clearly defined. That's a fixed point. So if I can put this in the back position and measure from that notch to the back of that safety and a teeny bit of clearance, which is about a 32nd of clearance from the off position, then I can tell how much I need to notch out down here. And see, that takes me back almost 1/8 of an inch from where I've got it notched. But that gives me a good clear mark. So if I bring that safety back to here, woohoo, that safety only needs to go down to right there. It doesn't need to go all the way to the bottom where it touches the triggers. It just needs to go that deep. And from the top of the tang to there is about, with clearance, something like that. So we're talking 0.375, 3/8 of an inch. That's from here. So it only needs to go down like 1/8 of an inch. The lower part of that safety goes on down, is on a slant. See, this just slants forward. That's the reason I'm cutting this area, for it to go back into on a slant. I'm not sure if that's deep enough. The fact is, when I come up from the bottom with the triggers, I'll cut all that right there. That'll be a hole clear through.